Given how successful ideas tend to be revisited time and time again, it's no surprise to see that not only do celebrated movies get sequels, prequels and remakes, but certain beloved pictures also find their tale being adapted for the small screen. While some of these may loosely adapt a movie as a TV show, others straight up tell the beat-for-beat story of the film on which they're based, complete with the same characters appearing. So, with that in mind, I'm Ellie with What Culture, here with 10 movie roles you didn't know were recast on TV. Number 10. Wayne Izielinski in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The success of 1989's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was remarkable. While hope was high for a fun Disney family adventure from this Joe Johnston picture, the film shocked the world by taking a whopping $222 million at the box office, which made Honey, I Shrunk the Kids the highest-grossing live-action Disney flick in history up until that point. Starring Rick Moranis as wacky inventor Wayne Izielinski, this 89 feature focuses on the Izielinski family as Wayne accidentally shrinks his 2 children, not to mention his neighbour's children, to less than an inch tall. Hilarity ensues, all is eventually made right, and the film's success was followed by sequels in 1992, Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, and 1997, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. While Moranis would reprise the Wayne Izielinski role for both of those follow-ups, he was replaced by future girls' favourite Peter Scolaro when Shrunk Ourselves was followed by a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids TV show in late 97. Featuring a trusty gadget of the week plot for the most part, this TV series was a relatively successful venture, running for 3 seasons and a total of 66 episodes, with it being set between the first 2 movies. Number 9. Darth Maul in Star Wars The Clone Wars. Some might not be aware that Darth Maul, as in the fella who was sliced in half at the end of The Phantom Menace, returned in the animated Clone Wars series. But even fewer might realise that this brutal Sith was voiced by a totally different actor for those appearances in the Clone Wars and beyond. While Ray Park was famously the man physically behind the character in Episode 1, it was future Tick actor Peter Serafinowicz who provided the dulcet tones of Maul in that movie. But by the time the believed dead character fully came back to the Force in the Clone Wars 4th season in 2012, it was Sam Witwer providing the vocals for the Rogue. In the time since Maul's Clone Wars bow, Witwer has gone on to voice the badass in video games, the Star Wars Rebels show, and was even featured in the closing moments of Solo: A Star Wars Story. Of course, prior to landing the Maul gig for the Clone Wars, Sam Witwer already had previous with the Star Wars franchise, having voiced the main character, nicknamed Starkiller, in the Force Unleashed video game series. Number 8. Brian Mills in Taken. When you think of the Taken franchise, you think of a miffed, brutal Liam Neeson. What you likely don't think of is Clive Standen. That's no disrespect to Standen, for he's a good actor who won plentiful plaudits for his turn as Rollo in the highly acclaimed Vikings. The bigger problem is, very few people realise that Taken went from a movie trilogy to a TV series. With Neeson's outing as Brian Mills having come to an end, at least for now, in 2014, NBC opted to spin the property into a TV offering which premiered 3 years later. Serving as an origin story for former CIA operative Mills, Standen was the person tasked with bringing that character to life on the small screen. Time-wise, the series depicts the younger Brian as an ex-Green Beret who is training to join the CIA. As ever, misery, loss and vengeance are never far away from Brian Mills in the Taken TV show, as perfectly highlighted by his sister being murdered at the start of the very first episode. Spoiler alert. After a promising debut year, sagging ratings saw Taken cancelled after 2 seasons and a total of 26 episodes. Number 7. The Crow in The Crow: Stairway to Heaven. To the masses, The Crow is a one-and-done movie, starring Brandon Lee as the titular Eric Draven. When he and his fiancée are brutally murdered by a street gang, Draven is resurrected 1 year later as a vengeance-seeking anti-hero. In reality, not just did The Crow get a sequel, but the 1994 movie actually has 3 follow-up features and a TV series. While the trio of sequel films have different characters taking on the Crow mantle as part of their own respective quest for revenge, it was the Eric Draven character who was revisited for The Crow: Stairway to Heaven on the small screen. Running for one 22-episode season from 1998 to 1999, Stairway to Heaven had martial artist turned actor Mark Dacascos as Draven. While it was always going to be a tough task to replace the sadly deceased Brandon Lee in that role, Dacascos did a stellar job as the Crow, bringing enough charm and poise to just about keep the oft-hokey dialogue of the show enjoyable. The actor got to explore the various different sides of Eric Draven, from heartbroken lover to a big brother figure to a brutal tool of justice. Number 6. Dottie Hinson in A League of Their Own. Picking up a strong $132 million in the box office at the time of its release in 1992, A League of Their Own opens up in 1988 at the Baseball Hall of Fame, where an elderly Dottie Hinson reminisces with her teammates about the all-female baseball league they were a key part of during World War II. From there, we flash back to 1943, where the story of this league's formation is told. For the 43 set bulk of the picture, it's Gina Davis in the main role of Dottie. Jumping ahead to 1993, CBS ran an extremely brief 6-episode TV series based on and titled A League of Their Own. Here, it was one-time Bond girl Carey Lowell in the role of Dottie. Where some TV shows based on movies may recast one core character and then introduce a slew of entirely original figures, the A League of Their Own series actually featured pretty much every character from the 92 movie. For example, in addition to Lowell stepping into Gina Davis's shoes as Dottie, some of the other recasting had the King of Queens Sam McMurray replacing Tom Hanks as Coach Jimmy Dugan, and Sister Act's Wendy McKenna replacing Madonna as All the Way May. Skipping ahead to 2022, and this past August saw another A League of Their Own TV show premiere on Amazon Prime Video. While this series shares a similar plot of an all-female baseball team coming together, the offering consists of entirely different characters to its two namesakes. Number 5. Lestat De Liencore in Interview with the Vampire. Some may be aware that Stuart Townsend was recast as Lestat De Liencore in the Alia-starring Queen of the Damned in 2002, yet many may be oblivious that Sam Reid has taken on that same role for a TV take on Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. Of course, the Lestat character was made popular in the silver screen by Tom Cruise, who took on that part for Neil Jordan's 1994 movie adaptation of Rice's 1976 novel. The tale of the film has its roots back in 1791, with the vampiric Lestat turning desolate, widowed Louis de Pont du Lac into a bloodsucker. In the present day, Louis is interviewed by Christian Slater's reporter Daniel Malloy as he recounts his centuries living as a vampire. AMC's Interview with the Vampire TV series is the most recent show to feature on this list, with it only actually premiering this past October. That first 7-episode season wrapped up just a matter of weeks ago, and so strongly did the network feel about Interview with the Vampire, a second season was announced even before the first episode of the series had aired. Thankfully, this show has proven quite the hit with fans and critics alike, which means anticipation is extremely high to see the adventures of Sam Reid's Lestat and co continue on next year. Number 4. Cher Horowitz in Clueless. Viewed as one of the great teen comedies of the 90s and beyond, it's a little strange that there was never any sort of movie sequel to 1995's Clueless, especially given Hollywood's penchant for draining any moderately successful property dry. Updating Jane Austen's classic Emma for a contemporary Beverly Hills setting, Clueless took home a solid $56 million from its $12 million budget, and received widespread praise for its heart and its humour. When spoilt rich girl Cher Horowitz realises that doing nice things for people makes you feel good, she targets Brittany Murphy's Ty Frazier. Seeing Ty as the new and average girl at school, Cher intends to give her classmate a makeover designed to make Ty more popular. Whilst Clueless was never revisited on the silver screen, ABC premiered a TV spin-off in 1996. Flying under the radar of many, that show amassed 3 seasons and even had crossovers with Sabrina the Teenage Witch, amongst other shows. As Cher Horowitz in this loose TV retelling of Clueless's tale was Rachel Blanchard, who'd later go on to have roles in The Rage, Carrie 2, Peep Show and Flight of the Conchords. Number 3. Buck Russell in Uncle Buck. Part of the problem with recasting any character is the expectation that comes with such a decision, especially if there are particularly tough boots to fill. Step forward, Buck Russell. One of the great comedy movies of the decade, starring one of the all-time great comedy actors in its titular role, directed by one of the all-time great directors, 1989's Uncle Buck is a picture that's beloved to this very day. Directed by the iconic John Hughes with the legendary John Candy on headline duties, the film centres on irresponsible, erratic, boozing Buck Russell as he gets tasked with looking after his brother's 3 young children. Candy is on fine form here, and his time as Buck stands as one of the most memorable turns of his exceptional career. While many will remember Uncle Buck the 1989 picture, far few will remember either of the 2 attempts to turn the film into a TV series. Just a year after the movie's release, CBS brought in Kevin Meaney to headline an Uncle Buck TV show. Rather than Buck looking after the trio of kids due to his brother and sister-in-law being out of town, this small-screen offering killed off the children's parents, placing them under the legal care of Buck. So poorly received was this series, it didn't even manage to air all of its first season before it was axed. Skip ahead to 2017, ABC this time opted to resurrect the Uncle Buck IP for TV, with Mike Epps in the title role. The series was cancelled barely a month after it premiered. Number 2, Ferris Bueller in Ferris Bueller. Another entry, another John Hughes movie being adapted for the small screen. Much like Uncle Buck struck a chord with audiences at the time and since, Ferris Bueller's Day Off remains a favourite of many to this day. And much like Buck Russell is synonymous with John Candy, Ferris Bueller is synonymous with Matthew Broderick. As such, it was always going to be a stretch for audiences to take to anyone other than Broderick in the Bueller role. Still, that didn't stop NBC from replacing Broderick for Charlie Schlatter in 1990. Simply titled Ferris Bueller, this TV take on the titular character at least tried to address the elephant in the room. By that, it had Schlatter's Ferris take a chainsaw to a life-size cutout of Matthew Broderick's Bueller in the show's first episode. As was explained in the series, the events of John Hughes' 1986 movie were actually based on the real Ferris Bueller as portrayed by Charlie Schlatter. Regardless of addressing why this Ferris looked different to the Ferris of the film, that didn't stop the show being cancelled midway through its first season. As a fun slice of trivia, the role of Ferris's sister Jeannie, played by Dirty Dancing's Jennifer Grey in the movie, was played by a certain Jennifer Aniston in the TV series. And just 4 years after Ferris Bueller premiered, Aniston would famously appear as Rachel in Friends. Number 1. Santanico Pandemonium in From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. Played by Salma Hayek, Santanico Pandemonium has a brief but extremely memorable role to play in Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn back in 1996. What many fans of that film may not be aware of, though, is that the Santanico role was not only recast for TV, but that Hayek was also out of the frame when the character appeared in 2000's From Dusk Till Dawn 3, The Hangman's Daughter. As played by Araceli, Santanico actually is the titular Hangman's daughter, with this prequel film detailing how Celi's Esmeralda ends up becoming the vampiric Pandemonium. On the small screen, Santanico was one of the characters to turn up in the El Rey Network's From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. While Rodriguez's TV take on the property was built around the Gecko brothers characters introduced in the 96 film, this time with DJ Catrona as Seth Gecko and Zane Holtz as Richie Gecko, one major highlight of the 3-season show was Eiza Gonzalez turning up as Kisa, aka Santanico Pandemonium. Much like the larger world of From Dusk Till Dawn, the TV offering got to expand on the Santanico character, elaborating on her vampiric roots at the Titty Twister, with her appearing in all 30 episodes of that series. And that concludes our list. If you think we missed any, then do let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell. Also head over to Twitter and follow us there, and I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Littlechild. I've been Ellie with What Culture. I hope you have a magical day, and I'll see you real soon.